All right, section 3.5 is going to talk about distance. We're still sticking with Euclidean geometry for now. Okay. Eventually, later on this year, we will talk about spherical a little bit, and distances change a little bit when you are on different objects. So this one here, you know, most of us agree that it has been said that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That is very true in Euclidean. Okay. We use perpendiculars to make sure that each of us use that same line when we're talking about it. Like especially, say, if I wanted to get from that point right there to this line down at the bottom, it's very helpful if we all draw about the same thing if we're going to be talking about it, right? So, for example, do you think, and I always make these dashed, I'm not really sure why, I think it's just so it looks different from the original, right? And so do you think that right there would be the shortest distance from that point to that line down there? What do you think? A lot of people shaking their head no right now. All right, well, how about over there? Is that the shortest distance? No. In fact, I think it's already drawn on your notes, right? And I have to caution you because some students have done it wrong in the past. I'm not sure how they come up with this idea. I wish I could. It might even be on here. Yep, there it is. You want it to go down and be perpendicular with the line. Some students in the past, really not sure how, is they'll draw something like this and they'll say, oh, it's a right angle with the point. I don't know how that works, okay, but people have tried that in the past, so please don't do that, all right? But what we want to do, now, am I going to sit there and measure to make sure you do it perfect when you're sketching them? No, all right? But again, should your line be way over here then and then just put a right angle on it, I'd prefer you didn't do that, all right? Try and get as close as you can to the actual answer, which is kind of already on your paper. It would form a perpendicular with the line that you're trying to get to, all right? So let's take a look at this next one then. Uh-oh, this next one's kind of weird. So it says, draw in the dashed line that would represent the distance between the point and the line. Well, what do I have to do for this one? Do I just kind of go like that, seeing that's the best I can do? Is that what we should do? Well, that's not perpendicular with the line, though. Any suggestions of what might work here? Yeah. Extending the line. Can we do that? Okay. Well, which way should I extend the line? Which way is going to be helpful? Yeah. Okay, it said down. Do we agree with down? Is that going to be where I should extend it? Okay, now, eventually we are going to get the straight edges and the compasses out today. But for right now, just do the best you can. If you happen to have a straight edge, that's great. But just go ahead, extend your line down like that. Again, these are just sketches so far. Okay, we're going to actually make constructions in a bit. And so extend it down. Okay, does that help? Does that help me allow to go from that point to that line and actually make it perpendicular? Again, at the line, not at the point. Okay, I think it does, right? I think it would look something about like that. Again, I'm not going to, in sketches, I'm not going to go in there and measure, all right? But it should be pretty close. I'm not going to go see, oh, is it 90 degrees or not, okay? But obviously, the answer that I just drew in is way better than putting, say, that line in, okay? Now, some people, oh, well, that's horizontal. Well, no, but it's not perpendicular to the line. So why don't you go ahead right now and draw in what you believe to be the perpendicular on this next one. All right, so again, if you were listening to the recording, hopefully you took the time to actually try and draw in this next one. As I went around the classroom, it looked really good. I saw some people even turning their page so that they are turning their sheet of paper so that they can see it a little bit better. Sometimes students struggle with this one. Wow, that was really bad, but hopefully you did better than that, all right? But it does go and it becomes perpendicular with the line, okay? So at this start, normally students are doing all right. Even that one on the left there with the extended line, students do all right. But all of a sudden, as you notice, pictures do tend to get a little bit more complex in here, right? To test to see if you do understand the concept. Okay? So this one's here says, well, to draw in the dashed line that will represent the distance between C and AB. Believe it or not, this is the same question you kind of just did, except there's more stuff involved, right? So C is now the point. So what some students have done in the past is they make it really obvious that that's the point they're supposed to go from. Okay, and then what they do is they say, okay, to AB. So sometimes they kind of even go over that a little bit because now it's kind of turned into the same problem. So in other words, what about this side? What bearing does that have on this problem? Yeah, none, right? It has no bearing. I'm just trying to distract you a little bit, right? Has the concept changed just because it's part of a triangle now? No. All right. How about this side right here? Also had nothing to do with the problem, all right? Just putting it in there to see if you can basically cover that up with your hand if you have to, if that's going to help you draw this in, all right? So this perpendicular, I think, just like that. Okay. Now, could I ask you to go from from point B to segment CA? Could I ask you to do it? Yeah, I could. That might be a little bit harder visually for you. I could ask you to go from A to CB. Again, those might be a little bit more visually difficult, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking for the one. Eventually, as we go through chapters, we are going to be drawing a lot of them in triangles, actually constructing them. Okay. So any questions so far? Again, notice I didn't try and become perpendicular with the point, right? Always perpendicular with the line or line segment you're going to. So now I'm going to switch around the question on you a little bit. Okay. I'm going to say, well, here you go. Here's a picture, bunch of lines in it. Okay. I want to know which one would represent the distance. So for part A, it says from A to BC. So once again, some students will go in there and they'll say, well, here's A. Let's make it really obvious that that's the point we're trying to go from. To BC. And some students have extended the lines. Now, if you're using pen, you might want to be careful on that, right? And then what I'm asking you is the distance from A to BC drawn? If it is, please tell me what that segment would be named. Okay. Do you believe that the actual segment is drawn in this picture that would represent the distance? We're looking for the one that would make the perpendicular, again, with the line, right? So is the one drawn in there? Does somebody think they know what it is? Yeah. Okay, it has been suggested that it is AB. So I'm going to draw in AB, kind of, and see if that makes sense. Is that where you would have drawn it if I asked you to do it on your own? I think so, right? I think that's a really good answer. Is it okay to say BA for that one? Or AB? Do you think that's okay? Keeping in mind, when we name things, we just want to make sure everybody's looking at the same thing. If somebody were to say segment BA, would that be all right? Yeah, that's fine. So why don't you go ahead and do BC right now on your own. Again, those listening to the recording, you do it as well. Don't just wait for the answers. All right, so as I was going around, I was kind of watching what people were writing down, and I also had them go get a compass and straight edge. So those of you listening to the recording, you might want to go ahead and make sure you have both of those so that you're ready to go when we get to the next examples here. So from D to AB, so first thing we got to, again, maybe I'll do a different color here. So D. And I saw a lot of colors on some of your papers as I was going around, to AB. So that would be over here. So we want to get from the blue dot to the blue line, and we want it to be perpendicular. So do you believe it has been drawn? I think I saw all of you answer both of them, right? So apparently you think they're all there, right? So what should you put down if it's not there? What do you think? Because let's face it, that's not beyond me doing something like that. What should you write down if it's not there? Yeah. No segment, not drawn, not there. Any of those answers are fine. But I think this one, I think I saw this answer a lot. If I draw in that one, I think I saw segment DE a lot, or segment ED. Either one is fine. And so now, if you have it start getting too overwhelming, that's why sometimes a pencil might be helpful, because then you can just go ahead and do that, right? And from C to AD, C to AD. Once again, I believe it's drawn. It's definitely not CD, right? It's not this one, because it doesn't meet at the right angle down there, okay? But this one does meet at the right angle. Don't know why I didn't make a dash that time, but looks like CF. Okay. Any questions on any of those? All right. Now it's time to actually go ahead and construct. All right. The compass. Okay. Now, most of you, when you hear the word compass, probably think of north, south, east, and west. Okay, that's an orienteering compass. All right. Believe it or not, these originally had the same purpose. Okay, because the sailors would use the stars in their charts of the maps to figure out where they were going, and they would use the compass to figure out, okay, how long is it going to take me to get there? Which direction do I have to turn so I get where I want to go? Okay, and so that's why it's also called a compass, or why they're both called a compass. So I want to actually use a compass and a straight edge. You're not going to use the protractor I gave you to measure 90 degrees. It's not what you're going to use it for. You're going to use it literally as just a straight edge. Okay? Because that's all the Greeks had. They had a compass and a straight edge when they did all this stuff. They solved amazing problems with just a compass and straight edge. Okay? They solved algebra with a compass and straight edge. All right? And so one benefit we have is, you notice if you move your compass a little bit, it kind of holds its position, correct? Okay? and you might want to make a note of this, you never know when it's going to be extra credit, that means that compass is a rusty compass, is what we would call that. I know they're not actually rusty, right? But if it holds its position like that when you open it up, that's called a rusty compass. Okay? The Greeks didn't have that. Okay? Their compass was collapsible, meaning if they tried to open it up and let go, it would just fall. It would not hold its position. Okay? So they had to be way more clever about how they constructed things than the way we have to be. Okay? So a collapsible compass versus a rusty compass. Okay? And so we're in luck. We have the rusty compass. We've made some advancements. And we want to get from A to B, C. I have had students in the past that do not take notes on this. They just try and remember. Some students do a fantastic job of that, and some do not. And so you decide if you want to maybe write down the steps off to the side. Okay? So to make a perpendicular from a point to a line, okay, what you're going to do is, well, first thing is you should check and make sure that when you close it, the tip of your pencil and the other tip kind of come at least relatively close together. If not, maybe move your pencil a little bit. Okay? All right? So this should be close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be pretty close. All right? And so what you're going to do is go take the non-pencil tip and put it on your point. Okay. And then open the compass to a setting that goes beyond the line. Okay. You notice mine's beyond the line. Now, does yours have to be exactly where mine is? No, I just said beyond the line, right? The whole idea there is when I make an arc, I want it to hit the line twice. Okay, do you see how that arc that I just drew from point A hit the arc twice? Now, could I go ahead and make a big old circle on there? Sure. Some students in the past have done the big old circles, and then they realize as we move on, that gets really hard. Okay? One thing I have told students in the past, too, is to do this, you might want to clear off your desk. Because some students do a really good job when they can move the paper instead of the compass. Okay. Now, the other tip, I see a lot of you doing it. The other tip I'm going to give you is think about it. When you write with your actual pencil, how often do you keep the pencil straight up and down? When you write with your actual pencil? You don't, do you? So is this pencil in here going to be any different than the pencil you've written with before? Is straight up and down going to work really well for this pencil? No, so have a little tip to it. Have a little tilt to it so that the pencil can actually write. All right? And then some students do way better. They hold it, they hold the compass, and then they just slide their paper back and forth. They spin it. Okay? And then they can hold the compass a little bit better. Okay? Whichever way works for you. And some students are just great. They have no problem, and they can make it work. Okay. So now, as I'm kind of looking around, some of you have kind of gotten your first arc in there. Okay? And the reason they have pencils is if it doesn't work out right, you can erase it. Okay? Okay, so you got your arc in there. You get a little tip to the pencil, works really well. So now, I look at it this way, is I've kind of created two new points that are referencing point A, correct? Those 2 points I just put in blue are the same distance from point A. I know that because if I put a circle in, that would be the radius. Right? Those 2 points I just put in blue are the same distance away from A, guaranteed. And they also hold something else in common. They're both on the segment. Right? Because I could put a lot of blue dots on there that are the same distance from A, but those are the only 2 that also hit that segment I just drew. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you don't even have to hold the setting, okay? You don't have to, but what you want to do is take it to one of those 2 new points that you just made. Okay? All you have to do here is make sure that your setting is more than halfway between your 2 points that you just made. Does my setting seem to meet that criteria? Is it more than halfway? And I'm going to show you why it has to be more than halfway. Okay? Is that more than half? I think it is. Okay? I think that's going to work. All right. We agree more than halfway? Does yours have to be exactly where mine is? No. The Greeks just went all the way. That's how they did it with their collapsible compass, because I just moved it, right? They would just go the whole way. All right. We just know we have to go more than halfway. Can we agree? I'm just waving over this, so the recording's not going to be very helpful here. But the perpendicular is probably going to be somewhere in here. Everybody's looking where I'm waving, and everybody's kind of shaking their head. Yeah. And so what you're going to do is go to the other side of the line, about where it would go through from this one, and just make an arc from one of you. I call these anchors, these points right here. I call them anchors. That's not an official vocabulary word, but it's at least where we can talk to each other about. So I've made an arc there. Here's where you have to keep whatever setting you just had. Make sure you keep that, and the rusty compass helps. So I went from one anchor. Now what you need to do is go over and do the same thing from the other anchor. So you see why the Greeks just go the whole way? because they're moving it, and so then they get to just reset it. And oops, I changed the color there. And make another arc. Ooh, I almost missed. I've just created another point. Okay, I'll give you a second. I see some of you making little notes off to the side. Believe it or not, we are almost done making our perpendicular. What do you think I'm going to have to do to make my perpendicular? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go to this one from the bottom, yep, and connect it to point A. That's what your straight edge is for. All right? I'm going to cheat a little bit because I don't have necessarily a really good straight edge up here, but I do have a line tool. Okay? Connect A to that new point you just made down below. You do have to keep the setting after your original shot. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and measure and see if it's 90 degrees. That's fine. I would strongly recommend that you actually go all the way to that other point. Okay? I have had people in the past that just measure with the protractor and put a bunch of random construction marks in there, trying to make it look good. Okay? I'm pretty good at knowing if you actually did the construction or not. Okay? That should be pretty close to perpendicular to your line and also going through point AB. Now, some people in the past say, well, it doesn't hit the middle of my segment. Well, did I say it was going to hit the middle of your segment? No, I just said it was going to be perpendicular and through A, right? Okay. So recap, okay? For those of you that are looking to make some, notes. Number one is don't do that, okay? First thing I did is I made it beyond the line, and I made an arc that hit my line or my segment twice, right? And it happened to be that setting. Okay. Again, I call these anchors, these two blue points that we just made, okay, right there and right there. I'm going to refer to them as anchors. Okay. Again, not an official vocabulary term. And then from each anchor, you just pick a setting that is more than halfway. Okay, and that's more than halfway. Okay, there you go. And you make an arc from each anchor, and you connect it. And that should be perpendicular. Okay. The reason I have to go more than halfway, I told you I would tell you why. Unless somebody thinks they know why. Okay, somebody in the background said they won't touch. What do you mean they won't touch? Okay, so here, do we agree that is less than halfway between my anchors, right, quote unquote? Okay, don't actually write this on here because it'll get really confusing if you look back at it, okay? Don't draw these in, all right? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to draw these arcs. If you don't go more than halfway, you see how those two circles, no matter how hard I try, are never going to hit each other? Where if you make it more than halfway, see, these are really just two circles here, these blue arcs, two parts of circles, okay? And they're going to hit each other. If I make it more than halfway, they have to. In fact, if I drew them big enough, they'd hit twice. They'd hit below the line and above the line. We just need one of them, okay? And so again, don't draw these circles in. Just know that's why you go more than halfway, okay? So I'm going to pause the recording right now and give you a shot of trying the next one, okay? Hint, you might want to extend your line, all right? All right, so I had some really good questions, actually, as I was going around. And do you notice on this first one, though, that I didn't worry if my compass was hitting point B or point C. I really didn't care. I just wanted to make sure that once I was done, my arc went through that segment twice. Is it okay if it happens to go through those points? Yes. All right, that's fine. Doesn't have to happen. But notice then I went in and made these new points. Again, I call them anchors. You know, that's just so we can talk about it. All right. And so once you get your segment in, then you're good. But also keep in mind, some of you are still having that pencil straight up and down, and pencils don't work so good that way. You're going to want to have a little arc to it, right? So this one here, as I suggested, you might want to, and I shouldn't have done that, you might want to extend your line. I'm going to cheat a little bit. When you extend your line, do not eyeball it. Use your straight edge. You have it there. Use it, okay? I want this to be pretty darn good. Again, I'm probably not going to go in and measure, but I'm going to be able to tell if that goes out like that or goes off on some angle, all right? I'll be able to tell. And mine's a little off, but not too bad. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So now we got point A. We got to get down to this segment somewhere. Okay. The first move is that going to work for my first move? A lot of people shaking their head no. Why is that not going to work? Yeah, is it when I make an arc, is that going to hit BC at all? Well, I can make that whole circle, and it's not going to hit BC at all. All right, so we're going to go down there. Maybe we'll go like that. All right. How about now? If I make the arc, is that going to work? Now, unfortunately, on your paper, if you make your arc like this, it misses on the right-hand side, correct? You got to kind of bring that in a little bit. And again, clear off your desk if you have to. Tip that compass a little bit and just move the paper. That has worked pretty well for students in the past. And then somebody in years past, or students in years past, said, is it okay if I just go make a little arc like that and slide it over and make a little arc like that? Well, I didn't change the compass, so should that still work? It should. That's more visual for you. Okay, if you like it this way better than the other way, that's up to you. For some reason, I kind of like to just put the whole arc in there. Then I know that the compass didn't move. Right? I can tell, oh, okay, it's this solid arc. We're good. Okay? So again, you notice neither one of mine went through a point. Not even close. This one went way out there. This one went kind of next to C a little bit, but it's not really all that close. Okay? So now, if you want to make this the same way the Greeks did, that's totally up to you. Instead of just going more than halfway, what they always did, because there's collapse, remember? They just always is that something they could recreate? They could easily recreate that if they wanted to. They had the distance sitting right there, okay? And that's how they used it, okay? And so they would just make the arc, but again, we probably know that it's down here, right? But it just has to be more than halfway. That's totally up to you. But you got to make sure that your first setting and your second setting here are the same. So whatever setting you use when you do this anchor, you have to do the same setting from the other anchor or it's not going to work. Okay? So right there, I now have this additional point. Okay? So then when you go ahead and make your line, that should be perpendicular. Again, I didn't say where it was going to go through the segment. I just said it would go through that line somewhere. But I said it will be perpendicular once it goes through there. Okay? And so if you want to go and measure that, that's fine. Now, I did notice some of you that just used the protractor, drew in the right angle, and didn't have the construction marks. That's not going to work well. Okay, I will not accept that. And as we move forward, we're going to add to these constructions. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have the steps down now. Okay. Any questions on any of the stuff that we covered today?